Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 407 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. Within Carefree Village's 33 heavens, everyone had sensed the surging consciousness from divine King Lang Wo. The masters of creation had attacked them with such great fanfare, yet had announced that they were actually here to make peace, intending to have a meeting with founding emperor. This seemed to be a little strange. The masters of creation came with an overpowering aura, and judging by the scene, it was evident that they had a definite upper hand, and that it would only be too easy for them to exterminate Carefree Village. So how could it be possible that they would want to make peace under such circumstances? It's most likely a trap to lure founding emperor out so that they can eliminate him. This was the guess that many had. Looking at the scene right now, it really did look like a trap. However, at this time, a goddess with unparalleled beauty flew out from the Masters of Creation camp. She gently drew a line in the space between their camp and Carefree Village, and a platform appeared in the void. Everyone was able to see clearly all happenings on that platform. The female Divine King's figure grew smaller and smaller, and finally, she was the size of a regular person. She flew onto the platform with a youthful-looking male dressed in red robes, alongside a huge head, and they waited there quietly. In the Carefree Village Founding Emperor Celestial Heavens, Founding Emperor was silent for a moment before he said to Qin Mu and Yang Yunxi, "Both of you shall accompany me there. Remember, you must not call him by his name. Addressing him as Celestial Venerable Mu or Holy Infant will do." Qin Mu and Yang Yunxi agreed. Yang Yunxi laughed. Qingzhen is his birth father, so he probably won't be too harsh. Qin Mu remained silent. The three of them flew out from the Founding Emperor Celestial Heavens and landed on that platform, facing Qin Mu, Divine King Lang Wo, and Divine King Shu Jun directly. Qin Mu waved his hand, and a long table appeared alongside 6 chairs, with each pair of chairs facing each other. He raised a hand and smiled. "Celestial Venerable Qin, please take a seat." Mu. Qin Mu opened his mouth to speak, but he quickly corrected himself. "Celestial Venerable Mu, after you." Everyone got into their seats. This platform was in the central zone that divided the two camps, and everything that happened on the platform could be observed clearly by either party. Qin Mu and Divine King Lang Wo sat down, while Divine King Shu Jun also rested in his chair. Divine King Shu Jun's huge eyes rolled about, inspecting the three sitting opposite them. Divine King Lang Wo said, "Qin Yi, this is the holy infant of my Masters of Creation race." The founding emperor nodded and replied, "I've long heard of your great name." Qin Mu smiled slightly in return. Divine King Lang Wo continued, "This is Divine King Shu Jun, a divine king from the previous generation of our Masters of Creation race." Founding Emperor replied, "I've long heard of your great name." Divine King Shu Jun laughed. "You must not have heard of my title, as I have been dead for God knows how many tens of thousands of years." Founding Emperor smiled slightly, and Yang Yunxi beside him laughed. "It's truly interesting that the holy infant of the Masters of Creation is the great Celestial Venerable Mu. Is Celestial Venerable Mu not of the human race?" Qin Mu smiled but didn't reply. Divine King Lang Wo looked around and said, "The holy infant has the ability to create. So there's no issue as to whether he is from the human race or the Masters of Creation race. If there are two deep-rooted prejudices amongst races, it would just make us look petty and narrow-minded." Yang Yunxi smiled. Back then, that wasn't what Divine King Lang Wo said. Back then, when we came to the Parameter World to build Carefree Village, Divine King Lang Wo and the Masters of Creation race viewed us as aliens who came to invade you, and you intended to annihilate us. Divine King Lang Wo glanced at her. The hanging beads on her phoenix crown shook slightly, and she replied steadily, Every inch of land and every area of space of the parameter world was forged by the consciousness of my masters of creation race. It is soaked in the fresh blood of our people. After experiencing the near extinction of our race, the masters of creation escaped to this place. It is the final resting and repopulating ground of our race. When our friend Qin Mu came here from afar, our race was always welcoming and courteous, and we never cheated you, am I right? Founding Emperor nodded. When I first followed the map and came here, that is true. I am indebted to Divine King's cordial hospitality, and I cannot thank you enough. Divine King Lang Wo continued, Our friend Qin Mu said that your people were in danger, and had come here to borrow some resting ground. On account of us sharing a similar fate, our people allowed you to stay here for survival. Our friend Qin Mu, you said you would like to borrow a small piece of land that would be divided by your sword, and we agreed, am I right? Founding Emperor nodded silently. Divine King Lang Wo continued coldly, we treated you with sincerity, yet with one strike of your sword, our friend Qin Mu sliced away half the land in my parameter world. Although my race is generous, we aren't generous to such an extent. We were sincere towards you, yet our friend Qin Mu played tricks with us. If you were in our shoes and others were to come and take away half of your carefree village, would you be agreeable? Yan Yunshi replied, although His Majesty did play a trick, when he asked for the small piece of land divided by his sword, the masters of creation race also didn't keep to their word. Instead, they led their people to attack us. This resulted in casualties on both ends. The people of Carefree Village suffered even greater losses. Divine King Lang Wo laughed coldly. As to what is right and what is wrong, does Heavenly Teacher Zishi not have an answer in your heart? Yan Yunshi replied, the number of people and gods and devils that died at the hands of you, the masters of creation, is thousands of times more than the number of you who have died. Where do these dead people go to redress their injustices? How do you speak of what is right and wrong? Divine King, Carefree Village never wanted to become enemies with the masters of creation. We merely sought a place to rest. His Majesty also said back then that we were only borrowing land for our survival, that he was waiting for someone to come. When that person comes, we will leave this place and return Carefree Village to you. So why is it that you are all intent on annihilating us? Shu Jun raged, saying, you came to invade my race, and you don't allow us to retaliate. Is that reasonable? Yan Yunshi was about to speak, when Founding Emperor raised a hand to stop her from continuing. Heavenly Teacher, we were in the wrong first, the Divine King can't be blamed. He looked to Qin Mu and asked, does the Holy Infant have anything to say? Qin Mu replied, we are all distressed people from all over the place, sharing similar fates, yet you are bullying the other distressed people, it's truly not acceptable. Qin Hanjun coughed. Celestial Venerable Mu, as one of the human race, you should think for the sake of the human race, and you should think from the perspective of the situation the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens were in back then. Qin Mu replied indifferently, I would also like to think from your perspective. It's just that I can't seem to recall if you all have ever done the same. When the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens was annihilated, the citizens of the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens all scattered and drifted from place to place. There were casualties and ones who escaped. The lucky 1% who survived, they escaped to eternal peace. Has founding Emperor ever spared a thought for them? I guess not. Are those people not people? Are the descendants of those people not people? Oh yes, they are the ones abandoned by the gods. He sneered. I originally thought that the great ruins were the ones abandoned by the gods. It was only later on that I knew it wasn't the great ruins, but eternal peace who were the abandoned ones. Back then, I still foolishly believed that eternal peace was the abandoned people of the gods of the celestial heavens. Only later on did I realize that I was wrong. Eternal peace wasn't abandoned by the celestial heavens, they are the people abandoned by founding emperor. Qin Mu furrowed his brows and couldn't help but add, the situation back then, the whole founding emperor celestial heavens was about to be annihilated. We could only salvage the strength of the core members and their power, so we were unable to protect those mortals. Only by doing that would we have the opportunity to retaliate in the future. Celestial Venerable Mu, try to think from this angle, if you were in that situation, you would also have done the same. If I were in that situation, Qin Mu replied indifferently, the outbreak in eternal peace wasn't much different from what the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens faced back then. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor didn't escape to Carefree Village. Emperor Yangfeng didn't escape to Carefree Village. They both stayed with the citizens that they sought to protect. I didn't leave either. Were they unable to leave? Was I unable to leave? His gaze landed on Founding Emperor's face. This is where Founding Emperor is inferior to me, to Emperor Yangfeng, and to Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. Back then, you left. You took your strongest away with you and built Carefree Village, doing and achieving absolutely nothing in the last 20,000 years, and you made no contributions either. Because you all left, there no longer existed the Founding Emperor era. We didn't leave, we stayed behind, and thus the Eternal Peace era still exists. To imagine myself to be in your situation. He exclaimed proudly, when I was in your situation, I did better than you. Emperor Yangfeng and Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor did better than you. The subordinates of Eternal Peace also did better than your subordinates. Qin Mu didn't speak any further. Founding Emperor nodded. You all did a lot better than I did back then. Back in the Dragon Han era, I already admired you greatly. I thought that you were a hero. I am not. I am unable to be like you, to do the things a hero would do. Your Majesty. Yang Yunshi frowned. Why are you calling yourself useless? Even if we really fight, Carefree Village is fearless, why is there a need to lower your head to him? His so-called formations of the Masters of Creation, and his so-called celestial palaces and divine weapons, to me, there are plenty of loopholes abound. It's obvious that they are just trying to intimidate us. Qin Mu glanced at her and smiled slightly. Heavenly Teacher Zishi, what you see is what I want you to see. If I truly wished to exterminate Carefree Village, you wouldn't be able to stop it. Yan Yunshi was enraged, and she gritted her teeth in anger. Qin Mu continued indifferently, you have all hidden in Carefree Village for too long. You don't understand the complete transformations of the outside world. You have lost your will to improve and lost your will to fight. I can train the Masters of Creation to reach this standard in 1 month's time, and in no time, I will be able to improve their divine arts and skills to yet another level. If I leave this time, the next time I lead my army into Carefree Village, what you will see will no longer be visualized celestial palaces, and divine weapons and armor. Yan Yunshi snorted, turning her head away as she gritted her teeth. I should have just let Lu Jing kick you to death back then. Qin Mu's gaze returned to Founding Emperor. You are too calm, too calculative, always looking in front and back. I am less calculative, and I am more reckless when I do things. I really did lead the army here to intimidate you, but the Masters of Creation and Carefree Village also really need to make peace. Thus, while I am intimidating you, I am also here to have peace talks with you. Founding Emperor replied, I'd like to hear what you have to say. Qin Mu looked at Divine King Lang Wo, and Divine King Lang Wo nodded gently. Carefree Village will be handed to you, and you will get full control of it. The Masters of Creation won't come to make trouble again. However, in exchange, son of Yudu Qin Fengqing will open Yudu in the parameter world and the land of the Great Void, creating another Yudu to gather the wandering spirits to create peace in the land of the Great Void. Qin Mu continued, the land of the Great Void will be controlled by the masters of creation. Carefree Village is not to interfere with any affairs there. As the Earth Count of the Great Void's Yudu, the son of Yudu must be fair and just in handling matters. He must set up and adhere to the cycle of life and death, and must not swallow up souls based on his own preferences. If Carefree Village can do all of this, the two races will be able to get along harmoniously and resist formidable enemies together. Speaking up to this point, he looked towards Divine King Lang Wo and asked, "Does Big Sister have anything else to add?" Divine King Lang Wo's gaze flickered. Carefree Village shall come to the territory of the Masters of Creation to build academies and schools to impart paths, skills, and divine arts. In exchange, the Masters of Creation can also set up academies in Carefree Village to impart the way to cultivate consciousness. Qin Mu leaned backward and rested on the back of his seat as he smiled. What does Celestial Venerable Qin think of this? Founding Emperor replied, "What Celestial Venerable Mu has suggested is extremely right. I haven't wasted a trip here. Do our races need to set up any form of pact? There's no need." With the table between them, Qin Mu stretched out a palm. "We just have to shake hands, and the oath of our alliance will be considered sealed." Founding Emperor stretched out a hand, and they gripped onto each other tightly. Founding Emperor revealed a smile and looked at him from top to bottom, laughing. "Celestial Venerable Mu is still wearing your red robes. Could it be that you are still wearing a large red belly band underneath?" Qin Mu retracted his palm and leaned back in the chair. He raised his brows and replied, "Yes. I'm not even wearing underwear inside." "Why, do you wish to beat me up?" "I do." Founding Emperor nodded his head heavily. Founding Emperor leaned back in his chair, stretched out a single palm, and spread his 5 fingers apart as he laughed. "I want to beat you up this many times." Qin Mu burst out laughing. Crossing one ankle over his other leg, and leaning one arm across the back of Divine King Shujun's chair, he replied leisurely, "You are copying me again. Why doesn't Celestial Venerable Qin beat me up 10 times? Divine King Shujun was very uncomfortable, but because he only had one big head left, he was unable to remove Qin Mu's hand. "Put your leg down." Qin Hanjin finally couldn't suppress himself. Green veins popped on his forehead as he growled in a low voice, "Your leg hairs are showing. Look at yourself. You're not even wearing anything inside." Qin Mu hurriedly put down his leg and sat upright and still. Divine King Lang Wo laughed softly as she helped Qin Mu pull down his red robes to cover his legs. On both sides, the great armies of Carefree Village and the Masters of Creation were filled with murderous intent, looking poised to start the fight at any time. Yet, the atmosphere on the platform was no longer as tense as it was before. Qin Mu laughed. "On my father's account, I'll give you some face and won't beat you up today. I'll go home to visit in a few days. Go and ask my brother to hurry and create the parameter worlds you do. I can get the Masters of Creation to help out as well." Qin Hanjin furrowed his brows. "Don't come home. I won't allow you to come back." Upon saying that, he took a quick glance at Founding Emperor's expression. Yang Yunshi laughed. "King Jin, don't be like that. Previously, we were discussing the important affairs of the two races. Now, it's all right if we discuss family matters. Since birth, Celestial Venerable Mu has been wandering about outside, and yet now that he has come to Carefree Village, he's not allowed to take a look. Don't you think that's a little unreasonable no matter how you look at it?" Qin Mu smiled. "Heavenly Teacher Shi is right. My coming here was exactly to seek out Carefree Village, to go home to visit my parents and my brother, as well as visit Founding Emperor. How can I not enter the door when I have already arrived at the doorstep? Go home to receive a beating." Qin Hanjin huffed before he glanced at Founding Emperor again. Qin Mu didn't take it to heart and replied, "Back then, I didn't lose, and now, all the more, I definitely won't lose." Founding Emperor, am I right? Founding Emperor stood up and smiled warmly. It's good if you return home to take a look. Now that we have set down our oath of peace between the two races, I will also need to return to make some preparations and let Fengqing open up the parameter world's Yudu and set up the cycle of life and death in the parameter world. When will Celestial Venerable Mu come to Carefree Village to visit your family? Qin Mu replied politely, in 2 months. Creating the parameter world's Yudu will also require quite some time. After all, it's a huge project. I will mobilize the Masters of Creation alongside the Divine King to help brother create Yudu. Founding Emperor also replied politely, then, I'll await your arrival in 2 months. Heavenly Teacher, Hanjin, let's go. Qin Mu and Divine King Lang Wo sent them off, but Founding Emperor hurriedly stopped them. There's no need to send us any further. Carefree Village is very near, it's just around the corner. Qin Mu watched as they walked off the platform, and Qin Hanjin turned around to whisper, "Don't come back." With that, he followed after Founding Emperor and Yang Yunshi to return to Carefree Village. Big sister, setting this oath of peace with Carefree Village, will it cause unhappiness amongst the Masters of Creation? Qin Mu turned his head to ask the lady beside him. Divine King Lang Wo shook her head. You are the Holy Infant. Your decision represents the decision of all Masters of Creation, as well as the decision of the Ancestor Spirits. They won't go against your decision. Come to think of it, us Masters of Creation are actually failures. We are merely hiding here, and we don't have much ambition. We merely seek peace and survival. She paused for a while before adding, I will use my consciousness to show them the future that will come with this oath of peace. When they see the future with the parameter world's Yudu, they will understand what you are doing. Furthermore, the ancestor spirits in the land of the Great Void that have become monsters will be able to attain peace. This will make them respect you even more. Qin Mu expressed his thanks. Divine King Lang Wo noticed that his gaze kept falling onto Carefree Village's 33 heavens, and she could sense that he dearly missed his hometown. She asked, Are you really going to wait for 2 months before you enter Carefree Village? Qin Mu smiled. Of course not. I will definitely secretly sneak in to see what Carefree Village has achieved in the past 20,000 years. Divine King Lang Wo blinked her bright and beautiful eyes, bearing great curiosity towards Qin Mu's thoughts. The reforms of Founding Emperor take a top-down approach. When the gods and devils have undergone the reforms, they will impart the results of the reforms to their people. Qin Mu's gaze twinkled. Then, the things taught in the schools and academies of Carefree Village will be the ultimate arts of the Founding Emperor Celestial Heavens. They would have done all they could to teach the mortals so that they would also be able to become divine arts practitioners, become gods. Thus, in the next 2 months, I intend to start my journey from Supreme Emperor Heaven of Carefree Village and observe whether the paths, skills, and divine arts of Carefree Village have improved or regressed compared to the past. Divine King Lang Wo laughed. You are still going to have a match with Qin Yi. Qin Mu didn't deny this, and he revealed a slight smile. He is Celestial Venerable Qin, while I am Celestial Venerable Mu. 1,000,000 years ago, we had already found each other to be an eyesore. But back then, we had yet to determine who was superior. Now that we have met again, although we have familial ties, we still consider each other to be an eyesore. Since that is the case, it would be good if we had a match. In knowing oneself and knowing the enemy, only then can one win all battles. There was a sly glint in his eyes. In the upcoming days, he will be focusing all of his energy on opening up the parameter world's Yudu, and he will also need to reassure and convince the citizens and gods and devils of Carefree Village to let go of their grudges. He won't have the time to watch me or research my paths, skills, and divine arts. Yet, I will be able to uncover the marvels of his 33 heavens of the sword path from all sorts of clues and traces. Divine King Lang Wo replied hesitantly, I will need to reassure the masters of creation, and I need to mobilize the masters of creation to go help the big-headed Wid baby, your brother, to create the parameter worlds you do. I won't have the time to accompany you. Qin Mu felt that it was a bit of a pity. He really liked how it felt to have Divine King Lang Wo by his side. This lady was incredibly clever. If she was a foe, she had astonishing ways to deal with the enemy, and if she was a friend, she would do everything she could to help the friend. Divine King Lang Wo was also an extremely beautiful woman, yet she didn't give him pressure the way Yun Chuxiu did. With this female divine king by his side, Qin Mu even felt that his brain was more agile than usual. However, Divine King Lang Wo needed to leave to attend to proper matters, so he couldn't make her stay behind. The three of them returned to the base camp of the Masters of Creation, and Qin Mu watched as she took her leave. Xu Jun commented, this divine king is an extraordinary woman, and her cultivation is also incredibly powerful. She's much more formidable than I was back then. Qin Mu sighed and said, it's a pity that she's a product of visualization. There aren't such perfect beings in the world. A product of visualization. Xu Jun broke into laughter. What are you thinking? Qin Mu was taken aback. Xu Jun shook his head. Gods that are visualized aren't able to make use of consciousness divine arts, and they aren't able to open divine treasures and celestial palaces like you can. Her consciousness divine art is even more formidable than mine, and she even has divine treasures and celestial palaces. So how could she be a god created by visualization? Qin Mu felt his head explode as he asked in a hoarse voice, what you are saying is that there really is such a beautiful and perfect woman in this world. He only felt that this was all too unbelievable. However, Xu Jun's words did give him a reminder. Divine King Lang Wo was too beautiful and too perfect. So he had ignored many other details, and instead had the preconceived impression that she must have been a god that was visualized by the masters of creation. Gods created from visualization were very similar to the ancient gods, in that they were limited to the consciousness and thoughts of the masters of creation that had visualized and structured them. Fire was fire, and water was water. They were unable to change their own attributes, and could only continuously cultivate and improve themselves following their own attributes. The ancient gods were unable to open up divine treasures or celestial palaces. Furthermore, there were no ancient gods that were able to make use of consciousness as a battle technique, much less visualize and form other life forms. Yet, Divine King Lang Wo was an exception. She was able to visualize, and she had opened up her divine treasures and celestial palaces. She had also been able to comprehend the consciousness divine art from the paths, skills, and divine arts of Carefree Village to reform the paths, skills, and divine arts of the masters of creation. Looking at it like that, she really wasn't a god created by the masters of creation's visualization, but an alive and kicking living being. Qin Mu revealed a smile as he rubbed his hands together and laughed. I still thought that she was a product of visualization. Xu Jun didn't bother guessing his thoughts as he pressed him, asking, so how are we going to enter Carefree Village? Qin Mu was shocked. You want to come too? Xu Jun sneered. Naturally. When I'm revived, I want to cultivate divine treasures and celestial palaces. The ideal way is, of course, to follow you and take a walk through Carefree Village to see how they cultivate. Qin Mu replied awkwardly, your current appearance. Wait for just a moment. Xu Jun retrieved a piece of grand primordium divine stone and visualized for a while. His huge head shrank, and beneath it, he grew out a skinny and frail-looking body. In no time, he transformed into a weak-looking youth with a big head and said, this should be all right, right? This body of mine isn't of much use. It's just so I can walk around looking like a person. In the future, when I have restored more consciousness, I will reforge my corporeal body. Qin Mu looked at his face full of beard stubbles and nodded his head reluctantly. You look a bit old, but you're still pretending to be young, so you look a little odd. Shu Jun's face darkened, and he looked even uglier now. Qin Mu hurriedly continued, the masters of creation will move the zone of dead stars that encircles Carefree Village, and the gods and devils of Carefree Village will also help out. It will be quite chaotic then, and we can make use of the period when they are shifting the stars to infiltrate Carefree Village. I will go and get changed first. After all, these red robes and the red belly band are too eye-catching. Just as he had expected, after Divine King Lang Wo and Founding Emperor announced the oath of peace between the two races, in no time, the Masters of Creation started to move the zone of dead stars that encircled Carefree Village. The gods and devils of Carefree Village also flew out to help move those stars far away from Carefree Village. Some activated large ships, while others directly used their immense power to push the stars. Qin Mu and Shu Jun took the chance to sneak into the lowest level of Carefree Village's 33 heavens, Carefree Village's Supreme Emperor Heaven. At the same time, Founding Emperor's orders were passed down. Every department of the celestial heavens was to work dutifully and in an orderly manner, and they were to be prepared to support Qin Fengqing in opening up the parameter Yudu and setting up the cycle of life and death. The greatest advantage Carefree Village had compared to Parameter's Masters of Creation was that the various departments of the country from the Founding Emperor era had all been retained. Founding Emperor only had to steer them in a general direction and pass down his orders, and the various departments would then be activated to complete and obtain the goal that he had set. This was the country system that Saint Woodcutter of the Four Great Heavenly Teachers had created for Founding Emperor. Under such a system, the talent of every individual could be fully made use of. Each had their own specific profession, and every god and devil was able to participate in building the nation. Yet, at the same time, no one was overworked, and they were able to have sufficient time for cultivating and improving themselves. Woodcutter Wentienga, as the leader of the Four Great Heavenly Teachers, had indelible merits during the Founding Emperor era. Zishi, you have exchanged blows with Celestial Venerable Mu before, how are his sword skills? Founding Emperor summoned Yang Yunshi over and asked. Yang Yunshi's gaze flickered, and she laughed. Is your Majesty really going to have a match with your own descendant? It's a little beneath how an emperor should act, isn't it? Founding Emperor shook his head. It's not a competition with my descendant, it's a match between me as Celestial Venerable Qin and Celestial Venerable Mu. Although we are relatives, we have differences with regard to our ideals. The clash of ideals can sometimes be even more terrifying than hatred, and it will only snowball the grudges we have against each other. He touched the carefree sword gently and was a little lost in thought. After a while, he continued, instead of waiting for the day our ideals clash with each other, resulting in irreconcilable conflict, it's better if we can first determine the winner and loser between us. For people with our tempers, we can no longer reason with words, we can only fight it out. He drew out the carefree sword and sized up the divine sword that had accompanied him as he grew. Back then, it was this very sword that shone brightly in his hands. It allowed me to witness the marvels of the sword technique, and let me resolve to enter the path with the sword. He waved the sword about, and it emanated cold sword rays that lingered in the skies. He continued leisurely, it was also this sword that was passed down from my hands into his hands and allowed him to comprehend the matchless sword techniques. This very sword, it connected him and me, 1,000,000 years apart and 40,000 years apart. I would like to know just how much he has improved compared to back then. You are the only one from Carefree Village who has seen his sword skills in recent years, and you know him better too. That's why I'm asking you. Celestial Venerable Mu's sword skills have been peerless in this world for the last 1,000,000 years. Yang Yunshi drew her sword and continued solemnly, Your Majesty's sword Dao is also at the pinnacle of the last 1,000,000 years. Your Majesty, I once met him in the primordial realm and asked him for guidance on the raising calamity sword technique. Please watch. She executed her divine sword, and the sword rays leaped about, imitating Qin Mu's raising calamity sword and demonstrating the 19th sword form of this technique. Founding Emperor's gaze flickered. Back then, Qin Mu had also executed the raising calamity sword at the Jade Pool, and had used one move to break through Mistress Yuan Mu's projection, shocking the world. It was just that he hadn't been able to look at it closely then. Even as an expert of the numinous Sky Grand Completion realm, Yang Yunshi still felt it was a bit strenuous to execute this move, and she was unable to completely demonstrate its essence. When he executed this move, it was even more intricate, with so many changes in it that even I was unable to defend against it. This is a basic sword skill. Founding Emperor waved the carefree sword and demonstrated the moves one after the other. Before this move, there are still 4 more basic sword skills. The rays of his sword flickered, and he executed the 18th sword form, after which it transformed into the 17th sword form. He continued to deduce further, until he deduced every one of the 4 great basic sword skills created by the reforms of eternal peace. Founding Emperor closed his eyes, then suddenly opened them with a bright glint in his eyes. After the 19th sword form, there's still a 20th sword form. Part 407 end here. Thank you for watching.